of us are just contented to accept everything we read or hear, while others like to question the text. And there are few of us who are real thinkers. Welcome to Oral Tradition and another adventure in Guyanese literature. As we look at writing and some of the aspects that lead us to writing, why we write. There are various reasons why we write. But clarity does not come like that. It comes with some knowledge and experience. We will also focus on the return of the Guyana Prize for Literature. Many of us are happy that it's back. Some of us are even happier because, like my guest, Samir Mohammed, who has won 2 prizes at the Guyana Prize for Literature in the category of poetry and short fiction. Samir, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Persaud. I'm ecstatic to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation. I already know it's going to be a very fruitful one.
Yeah. You know, I asked you for a short bio data, and you sent me a well-structured essay. And I said, yeah, this is gonna be interesting conversation. You're curious. You like new challenges. Alright. You like science and you like art. What a combination.
I believe that you can't separate the two, to be honest. Because the more you go into science, the more you see these artistic beauties, these things that you find these patterns, the repeating and repeating in math, in science, whether it be biology, chemistry, or physics, and you just have to stop and think for a moment. And you look at these things, they're kind of like paintings, kind of like structures that you can understand. And the same applies for art. Mm-hmm. There's a certain science to the art too. Mm-hmm. Even in your poetry, you have mathematics and rhyming, logic, rhythm in your structure. So I think we do a great injustice by separating art and science.
How do we do an algebra? It's written in, well, for our purposes, it's written in English, right? So you've got to comprehend English to do that.
See, if you boil it down, you look at it from sort of the bigger picture. You know, some people argue that algebra, they shouldn't have added the alphabet to mathematics. But it's really assigning things and giving meaning to things. Mm-hmm. Like algebra, you use or let me give you the physics example. You use V, if you look at it, it's just a letter. But it's the meaning that you attach to the letter. Mm-hmm. V could mean velocity, or it could mean volume. It all depends on the context. So you have to sort of put these meanings together.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful picture when you look at it.
Yep. Talk about meanings to words and symbols. I understand that Samir means like a gentle
Wind.
breeze.
Yes.
Right? Yet you have the potential to chase after storms. A complex character. A complex character. Mm. Let's hear about this Samir, this complex character. What's below this that we see?
Everything is inherently multifaceted. There are more than one ways to look at everything, and people are no exception to that. I think like people are actually the golden rule you should apply when you look at things that are multifaceted. Because on the surface, you see charismatic, you see outspoken person, but on the inside it might be a lot different too.
Mm.
So writing is sort of a way that you bring that out, and for me, it's how I brought that out.
In your writing,
Yeah.
tell us what led you to the writing, using symbols and patterns that you tried to capture and portray in your writing.
It came sort of naturally for me. I've been writing my entire life. Most of it is academically, to be honest.
Mm.
But I did have my little stories that I wrote about, my characters that I sort of visualized, and the patterns, they came very naturally to me as well. You have...
Because of your leaning in science.
Yeah, I'd say that's a very strong component of that. When you have that kind of mindset, you have a proponent to analyze things, to break them down and see what they're made of, why they're like that, and how does that impact everything else around them.
We're using science now to reveal a whole lot of what is there in the environment.
In many ways, science is reflective of its environment.
Yep. Yep, right. Let's go to your writing and the Guyana Prize for Literature. As I said earlier, you like to question the text. Fine. We'll go to your text and see how come you were able to capture the attention of the panel of judges.
I know I worked very hard on my pieces, but at the same time, I was a little bit surprised that I won because, as artists, we might not directly see the value of our work. It's when other people come in, they look at it and they say, wow.
Yes.
It's them looking at these patterns from a sort of different angle. So when I was there, I kind of sat in my own corner because I didn't know anyone there. So they told me in the email to keep it confidential.
Yes,
that
yeah.
I won.
Yeah.
So I'm in the corner by myself, just waiting because they had to go over the other categories.
Yeah.
They sort of saved my part for last to round off the evening. So I was just patiently waiting, nodding off everyone. Their pieces were great. I just want to say. But it was it built up to that moment where they
For
called
you.
me up there,
Yeah.
and it felt sort of surreal to me,
What is in your writing that separates it from the writing of others? And if you like, you can take us to a piece or two while you show us the difference or the depth. Yeah, I think that's a good word to describe your work. Below the surface, so much is happening.
Yes.
The depth of your writing.
I joke with my friends too. I would send them a poem, and they would read it on the surface, and they'd be like, "Oh, it rhymes. This part is so nice," and then they tell me too, but they know there's so much more under the surface that they haven't seen yet. So then I have to go over and explain the little subtleties, the little pieces they might have missed, because there's so much going on under the surface. So I have my short story here, titled "So Does It Stare Back?"
Now, there's a story behind that story.
Yes, there is.
Tell us that. The title, where you got it from.
Yeah, it's a very, very emotional story. It takes place from the first person perspective of someone drifting in outer space. So they've gotten their mission, right? They've committed a crime on Earth, and for penance, they'd be sent out to go to the moon, because the people have moved from the Earth to the moon because of a plague that had stricken. So, on the surface level, it's this person doing their penance, and they're living out their sentence to go to the moon, and they end up drifting off course. So they're in a bit of a pod, a physical pod, as they're going there.
In that dark hole. Yeah, go on.
They're in a physical pod and they're confined to it.
Yeah.
Can't leave at any moment, even if they wanted to. Which I'm not gonna spoil that part yet.
Yeah, okay.
So, it's kind of a metaphor for the mind.
Mm-hmm.
When you're placed in a bad situation, it can feel like your mind is confining you. Like you're trapped inside of your mind. So one of the lines, and I remember this line vividly because it's one of my favorite lines, is, "It wasn't so much that the walls confined me. This castle that I dwelled inside, it was me."
The castle of my skin. Lamin. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's being stuck in your mind, because the character, he was in there for, felt like days,
Mm-hmm.
weeks, months.
You'll tell us more about that, but you talk about meditation, self-examination, what else? Well, investigation into the self.
Right.
Right. You do that a lot.
Yes, I love to meditate. Self-reflection, I believe, is paramount in being successful, being a healthy and happy individual. You really need to look inside of yourself a lot of times, because what you can see is, in yourself, it's reflected the world too, and vice versa. The world shapes you as you shape your perception of the world.
Show us in the writing.
So there's one part here that I like to talk about. It's the writer comparing himself, not the writer, sorry, the character comparing himself to the people on the moon. So kind of want to paint the picture. He's out in space, they're living cozy on the moon. In a sense, they were isolated too, leaving home to be somewhere else. Yet, why does it feel so different? Was it choosing to isolate oneself, or spiraling into it, that made these situations dichotomous? Is it one's outlook that dictated whether it would be torture or whether it would be paradise? So, going back to meditation, that part encapsulates one's perception of themselves.
Yeah.
And the impact of choice.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be somewhere, chances are you're going to be very unhappy about it.
Wow. Your
That
theme.
seems obvious, but
Yeah, I can imagine that. If you're not happy within yourself, what's going to happen?
exactly. It can be you're trapped in a physical place,
Mhm.
or you're trapped there.